Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to present to you something very special, unique on the Gotham Chess YouTube channel. This is a 90-minute recorded interview on Ben Johnson's podcast that I did. He has a podcast known as the Perpetual Chess Podcast, where every week he interviews various people, grandmasters, and different personalities involved with the game of chess. Please do check out his podcast. I put a link in the description. A lot of episodes are available for download. They're also on Spotify. And timestamps are on the video player for the subjects that we covered. I really hope you enjoy. Do let me know your thoughts in the comments below on any of the subject matter. And I will see you in the next video.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Perpetual Chess. We have a return guest this week. He is 25 years of age, a YouTube creator, a commentator, Twitch streamer, teacher. He was last on this show, episode 180, which we recorded on May 27th of last year, a bit more than a year ago. And man, has our guest, Levy Rozman's life changed. Last year at this time, Levy had less than 10,000 YouTube subs. And as we discussed in that interview, he was doing a lot of other work aside from his content creation, his streaming, and his commentary, although he was already building a loyal audience. Now, as we record today, he has something like 1.6 million YouTube subs.
06.
1.06, thank you, yeah. Well, you'll get there, but yeah, 1.06. This explosive growth puts him right at the top of the most popular chess YouTubers in the world. As of yesterday, Agadmater had 1.13 million and Hikaru 1.03 million. Shout out to those two as well, but by the time this interview comes out, it seems likely that Levy will be the most popular chess YouTuber in the world. Either way, it's been quite a year for him, so rejoining us to reflect on his past year, his future, and yes, his recent return to competitive chess, I am Levy Rozman, Gotham Chess. Thank you for coming back, Levy.
I'm not gonna lie, I feel like you're right up there with Bruce Buffer in terms of introductions. Like that was I'm hyped. I want to go fight somebody. Like I want to, fist bump you and like let's get it on. Yeah, it's been crazy. But in fairness, I reached out to you. I wanted to talk because you have the best chess podcast there is. So it's been a crazy year. So I wanted to catch up.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that, Levy. I'm glad you don't forget the little people. Obviously, I'm happy with my station in life, but the following you've built has just been simply insane. And I want to talk about that. I mean, I can't imagine what your daily life has been like over the past year, but I think we should be true to our brand, Levy, and start with the chess. So as we do this, you just got back from Vegas about a week ago. Mm-hmm. You were playing in this big tournament called the National Open. You did videos that got huge numbers, as we'll talk about. But first, just tell me, Levy, like, how do you reflect on that experience?
On Vegas?
Yeah.
It's really hard, man. It's really hard. My entire chess career, if one can call it that, I loved winning, and I loved learning new openings and putting them to the test. But I talked about this a lot on stream. I never thought that I would be even an international master. To me, that was the ultimate goal. I just thought Grandmaster was this astronomical goal that I would never even get close to, because career, college, whatever, I didn't know that I would necessarily be a chess creator. And when I hit the international master title, it was a massive adrenaline dump for me. And that's how I describe it, because over the next 4 tournaments, I lost maybe 50 rating points on K10. So for people that don't know, when you cross 2400, you hit your rating change factor goes down, so it's harder to gain and lose. And for me, it was definitely not that hard to lose. I just lost a ton of my rating, and I kind of said, okay, well, this is done. I'm not going to ever make this back. So I never really tried, because I just taught chess, because that paid well, because playing chess doesn't pay well at all. And I taught chess, and I thought maybe I would even have a career in finance or consulting. But coming back was interesting. And I think it was obviously a completely different experience in the context of people coming up to me and introducing themselves and telling me they watch my content, and all this kind of new element of having a permanent DGT board. They just stationed me there on a board, and I actually told them not to. That was the interesting thing. I did not request a permanent broadcasted board, but they actually had to convince me. They said it's good for publicity and everything. So a lot of mixed emotions. As far as the competitive chess aspect of it, it's really hard. It's really hard to prep openings against people who have taken a year and a half off of the game, especially if they're young and they're underrated. And as you saw from my tweet, I had bloodshot eyes every night. I was so tired. I lost like 3-4 pounds over the course of the tournament. So mixed emotions for sure. But hey, I'm doing it again. Doing it again in like a month. So I think I got the itch.
Yeah, and for listeners, again, you should check out our first interview. I'm sure you could dig through Levy's reading some content and find some background info as well. But Levy talked about his pursuit of the IM title in our prior interview last year, and he said in that interview, the verbatim, I quote, "I hate classical chess."
Yep.
And it didn't sound like a pursuit of the GM title was imminent, but then it sounds like you had a positive experience, like Beatlemania there in Vegas. And shout out to the organizers for giving you a platform. I do think it's a good idea on their part. Now, Levy, you mentioned you're playing again in a month. So where are you going?
I will leak that when it's closer to the date. So I actually have, just for concerns of just crowd control and everything, I even reached out to where I'll be playing, and well, I'll probably just DM it to you in about a minute, but or a minute after we finish talking. But it's hard because I don't know what it's going to be like. At least Las Vegas was spaced out. It was a bit more of the casino feel. It was a big tournament. And I could basically go to the playing hall, talk to some people on the way back to the elevator, and just hang out in my room. But where I'll play, if it's a small enclosed setting, there's nowhere to go really. So you gotta. This is just the stuff I have to think about now.
Yeah.
So I never take it for granted. I don't think it's a bad thing, but these are just sort of the concerns. I think there is a really nice element to the fact that the games are broadcasted, people are following along, and then they get to hear not just the moves and the analysis, but my emotion afterward, which there's a lot of over the course of 4 or 5 hour games. And I still hate classical chess, but I really like to gain rating. And this is the trade-off, sadly.
Yeah, and we should say Levy had a pretty good showing. You beat young phenom Christopher Yu, only lost to grandmasters. And I think a lot of people listening to or watching this will have seen your recap videos, being that they got like 400,000 views per recap. But anyone listening who hasn't, I definitely recommend you check it out. You get the whole full spectrum of the emotion of a classical chess tournament. And as you refer to with the bloodshot eyes and the exhaustion, seeing you on Twitter, and then I caught up with your videos later. If you hadn't tweeted out, like, I'm going to begin training again and continue to play, I wouldn't have guessed it just based on like reading the emotions of the tournament.
Yeah, people were definitely pretty correct in saying that you'll take a little bit of time and reflect. And I definitely, like you said, the support of the community, they were the best performing videos I've put out probably ever. There was obviously this cheater and charity thing, and that got a lot of attention, but all of those
Could you explain that?
Yeah, well, there was the charity with that Anand did, the charity event, the sign.
Oh yeah. Okay, sorry. Yeah, the separate event. Yeah,
so like that was chess drama. That got a lot of views, but then these recaps just absolutely obliterated all of my previous records, and it was kind of depressing coming back here and launching videos into a hurricane because I knew they were not going to perform as well. And on YouTube you get this performance indicator, and if you're not performing as well as the other 10, it gives you this big fat gray arrow that you're below average. And anytime you have a video that's number 1 or number 2 out of 10 in terms of view count in a certain time frame, it'll give you fireworks or this big green arrow, and it's this dopamine effect. So I've been firing videos off that are not performing anywhere near as well, and I kind of want those Vegas videos to get pushed out of my most recent 10s so that I can finally feel normal about my view count. But I have to say, I was averaging about 1.2, 1.3 million over 48 hours, and Vegas got up to 2.3. So just a million more views in 48 hours, which is nuts. It's crazy how invested people were, and I appreciate it. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. It's awesome to see. And again, I find the videos quite compelling. I've been a fan of that format for a while, dating back to when I am Kostya Kavutskiy used to do them in tournaments. I've talked with John Bartholomew. I think it's very compelling because you feel the emotion, but nonetheless, the numbers are just like off the charts to me, just because you're a super strong player, even though you're modest. So you can't go over. You do a good job explaining sort of more advanced concepts to a wider audience, but still, like when you're playing a grandmaster, that's advanced stuff. So I don't know if there are 400,000 tournament chess players in the world, and there everyone is tuning in. But I don't want to step on my first Patreon question. So before we dig deeper into Vegas, I just want to hop right into it, because one of your many fans who was really impressed with these videos wrote in. So for listeners who aren't familiar, supporters of Perpetual Chess find out the guests in advance and are able to submit questions for them. So this one is from Derek Jones. Thanks for the support, Derek. And Derek says, your tournament recaps have been amazingly entertaining, but your mid-tournament recaps of your own games from the National Open were the most compelling chess content I've ever seen. Watching you reveal what you were thinking during the games made it feel like I was right there with you. The best part was how human it felt. It wasn't just a regurgitation of engine analysis. Since this is supposed to be a question, I'll ask you this. Was it difficult being so vulnerable after your game performances while you were still in the middle of the tournament? Did publicly airing your mistakes and thinking errors for the games you lost make it harder to get into a competitive frame of mind for your next games?
So I did see this question. You did show it to me. I try not to prepare answers too much. I like to get it kind of fresh. So I appreciate the question. Thank you for supporting Ben. You definitely should. So first of all, no, as much as I have a Twitch persona and I trash talk and I say things that if you just read it, you're like, wow, this guy he is so full of himself. No, I actually get humbled very often in competitive settings, and I have really no problem talking about it. I have no problem talking about many other things that people might feel insecure about, or people think that you shouldn't discuss this. You should kind of deal. I like to mental health issues and things of that nature. So no, I enjoyed telling people my best moments and my worst moments and the emotions that I felt during the game, doubt or whatever it might be. There's a whole wide range of emotions during a chess game. So no, I enjoyed it a lot, and just like this viewer question, people found it to be some of the most compelling chess content they've ever watched, because they actually care about the person who's playing the game. The super grandmasters they also might care about, but because they've maybe watched so many hours of content and I've kind of been the mentor along their chess journey, they're rooting for me in your favorite basketball player or your favorite tennis player sort of way, or football player, soccer football, but also fine American football. I'm sure we have people who prefer the NFL. So now the competitive frame of mind is interesting. So for the first time in my life, I'm actually going to seriously consider, and I'm probably going to talk to a sports psychologist just to see what that's like. I've heard that a lot. I've heard different athletes do it. I definitely need it because I'm not myself when I play stronger opposition, and I'm not really afraid to admit that. And some games it goes away. Some games I like against Chris Yu, except for that one idiotic blunder when I got really excited. I thought I had a winning combination. I almost played the game of my life because I was just really firing in all cylinders. However, I was still playing moves really slowly. I was playing all the best moves, but I was really doubtful that they were the best moves. But then you come home and, your Stockfish 13 is like, yeah, best move. Go. Play it. So yeah, I haven't evolved to a level of I think mature enough state of mind or competitive framework that is necessary to probably excel at the highest level. I would not be surprised if some of the super GMs in the world have it's just a mindset thing, or some of the best athletes in the world, it's just a mindset thing. Because I'm not an athlete. I'm not. I've never, as much as I want to say that, or you can argue that becoming an international master, you have to train like an athlete. No, you just need some good opening prep. That's it. Like I gained 150 points on good opening prep and good dynamic skill set and instinct. So, but to get to GM, I think for myself personally, that is one step that I will definitely need to take. But yeah, as far as recapping my games and everything, it's a pleasure. It's an honor to do it for people, and people love it. So I'm gonna keep doing it. That's
awesome. I can't wait to see how this sort of story unfolds, because I have a feeling it might get even bigger. I mean, your channel's consistently growing. People are going to tell their friends about it, and I shared it with a friend, chess fan friend, who hadn't watched it and was just like, "Wow, that's so compelling." And not to blow smoke up your ass or whatever, but that's just what he said, and that's sort of how I felt. And again, I feel that way about other game recaps as well. I saw Eric Rosen post, your buddy Eric Rosen posted one yesterday, friend of the pod as well, and I need to catch up on his. So there's also the energy management question, Levy. I mean, you mentioned, again, seeing a sports psychologist, and I know you battled some time trouble demons. For listeners who don't know, time trouble basically means you get a set amount of time in a given game, and if you think too much, you suddenly have to play very fast. Now, Levy's good at playing fast, but if you're playing you can't outplay a grandmaster with 1 minute, and they have an hour, unless possibly you're Alexander Grishuk. So was it hard to do the videos in terms of like you could be prepping for your opponent? There's an opportunity cost there in terms of possibly your performance, and like you could be resting. But obviously with the views, I mean, it's kind of comes with the territory. But was it hard to make the time to do them?
No, not at all. So Vegas was well spaced out. It was a good time control. It's very important. Also, it's American chess, so pairings come out 40 minutes before your next round. And I don't want to knock on the Vegas organizers. They by far have probably a top 5 open tournament that's run in the United States. As long as it's not a super closed event, those are obviously going to be a little bit better. But I'm just going to say this right now, and this is not to deter anybody from playing in chess tournaments. By all means, do go ahead and play in chess tournaments. You will have a good time. American chess tournaments are garbage compared to Europe and other parts of the world. They are, especially in the open section. So they are 2 games a day, which is absolutely brutal, and everybody complains about that. Many of them, particularly, let's just not name names, but some of them you have to bring your own chess set. It is unheard of, and that is not elitism. It is unheard of in any other part of the world that a title player needs to bring a board and pieces and set it up. Like, why is that not there? I played in the Czech Open in Pardubice, in a hockey arena, okay? And they had 100 DGT boards, and for people who don't know what those are expensive broadcast boards on which games are played and relayed to the internet. They had 100 live games and many more chess sets. Everything was provided from the highest section to the lowest section. An unrated beginner could show up and play, and that obviously has to do with sponsors, local funding, the local municipality helps the tournament. States just don't have that, and that's unfortunately what it's like. So in Europe, I would get my next opponent, and there's also 1 game every day, so you can maximize your sleep, living experience. I would get my pairing and have 18 hours, which is also not great, by the way, because you ruminate about what you want to play for 18 hours. But yeah, in these tournaments, I know that I'm going to get my next opponent with 40 minutes before the round. So what am I going to prepare? I mean, am I going to refute their opening repertoire? No. I have to choose what I'm going to play. I have to review some lines, and that's it. So, no, I had plenty of time. I usually would come back to the room, rest, make my recap, order some gross delivery because the food options were terrible, which is another problem of tournaments here. There are usually not a lot of food options around, and power nap or lay in bed and look at basketball news for like 90 minutes. So no, I don't think, and I would never trade it at the end of the day. I think by profession, I'm now a content creator, so how can I not make content, right? So, yeah, I think that's the best answer I can give you.
Nice. It should be interesting to track going forward. Now let's dig a little bit more into your chess game, Levy. So you mentioned the Grandmaster title. In the past, you've kind of, like in our previous interview, you said you felt lucky to get IM, which again, given your blitz ratings and your ability to calculate and stuff, I think you're selling. You're being modest or falsely modest there, but GM title, obviously that's a whole different animal. So are you going to pursue that title, or is it more just sort of you're going to train and you're going to play and you'll see what happens?
Very tough to say. So I wanted to take it a tournament at a time and just generally get better. I wanted to actually get to a point where I can I don't have to use those last 40 minutes before a game to prep. I can just review my opponent's openings and go, okay, well, this is what's in my arsenal. And this is what I'm going to trot out. Because the way it is now, it's kind of a mad dash. What do I play? What do I play? I know a little bit about everything, but I just want to be confident and have the skills to just show up and play. And that's what a lot of grandmasters do, frankly. They know that you're going to be preparing. They understand all of that, and they have the skill set to, first of all, avoid your preparation or play into it a little bit and then deviate and then outplay you. Uh, I but there's a second element to this, and this kind of goes along with the sports psychology element, is that I need to start actually not being so self-deprecating and joking that I will never get the title. And I actually think you manifest it. I think it's a reality. I haven't actually started on this process of manifesting. I haven't done a tremendous amount of research, but I am sure that if you walk around with the confidence and the ability, and I say this to lower rated players all the time, if you want to be a rating, you can't respect that rating or fear it. You're going to be it, so you can't be afraid of it. I have to start doing that myself. But as I always say, do as I say, not as I do. It's been pretty hard. But like I said, I have those games where I'm full of confidence and the title means nothing. The rating of my opponent means nothing. And I build up the confidence, but it's nowhere near as consistent as it has to be. So we'll see. But it would be very nice to get the GM title, and I probably should stop saying things like "I will never be one" because that's stupid. Why am I coming back to play tournaments if I'm also saying stuff like that?
All right, there you have it. That's fun to hear. I mean, I've interviewed a few people chasing the GM title. To me, I mean, you guys are so strong to begin with, but I love to see people, trying to achieve their maximum. So you mentioned in one of your YouTube videos that you reached out to your former and possibly again coach, GM Wojciech Miranda, who of course you did a fun, I think it was a guest at ELO video featuring his great book, and he's been on the podcast. So you might do some work with Wojciech, and then you alluded to some sort of secret potential coaches. Can you reveal anything else about that, Levy?
Yes. So I had a grandmaster reach out and be like, "Hey, I saw you're coming back for the Vegas tournament. Would be interested in helping you. It's not like Magnus or Anish or one of these guys, but that would actually be interesting. A super GM coaching pairing." And we actually haven't gotten anything scheduled yet because it's just the way it works. Hey, can you do tomorrow? No, can you do the day after, etc. But I definitely have some rapport with I always say rapport like Richard Rapport, but it's like rapport. I have some rapport with Wojciech. We worked together. He's also been a super instrumental in helping one of my closest friends, Kyron Griffith, get his I want to say title. He's about 2396 with 3 norms, so let's just say he's going to get the title. He just popped off in Vegas, had a monster event, and they worked together for some time, so that also was part of the motivation. And yeah, Wojciech's great. He's very on the nose. I'll tell him I want to play a line. He'll tell me it's garbage. I'll say I want to keep playing it. He'll say, all right, you do you. And he kind of he tells it like it is, and he's got a good style. And that's part of the training plan to come back. But a lot of it is going to be me. I have to sit down and do the work myself. It's not like you come in every day to the mixed martial arts gym and you have 5 different coaches. I think I need 1 or 2 max. And I've got to really put in a good effort myself, which is really not easy. I have to tell you, between the streaming schedule and I want to make 2 YouTube videos a day, and I want to improve my courses or work on the website a little bit, and it's just I want to go to the gym, and that's
don't
another
neglect
part
your
of it.
Girlfriend.
Yes. I mean, Lucy's the backbone of everything that I do. So she's out. So she probably heard me just say that. Love you, honey. So it's
shout out to Lucy.
It's nuts, man. But some days it's 8-9 p.m. I haven't had time to do any chess study, and I'm exhausted. I'm falling asleep trying to learn my lines. So there's going to be sacrifices made, and I have to figure out which sacrifices I have to make.
Yeah, I was going to say, because obviously, like, you've had a lot of success in this past year. Like, you could take your foot off the gas and focus on training even more if you wanted to. Not saying you should. I certainly don't, but it's a possibility.
I've definitely I mean, in June I streamed maybe 30 hours. It really hasn't been a lot between Vegas and preparing for Vegas, and just I was burnt out. I like officially, whatever burnout felt like, I felt like I had it, and it felt like if I didn't stop, I was you know, I talked about it also. Like I said, I'm very open about this stuff. I was just laying in bed and I had no desire to do anything, much less make YouTube videos. YouTube I can still get up for because I can just record it, put it out, put some tags on it, monetize it, and be done with it. But streaming takes a lot out of you because it's a lot of interaction for many hours at a time. And yeah, I had no desire to do much of anything. So I just kind of made a YouTube video a day and tried to take some walks.
Yeah, and yeah, so you mentioned this on Twitter, and you alluded to sort of mental health. I don't know if I would call them challenges, but whatever. Like everyone has ups and downs. So I think it's good that you're open about that. I mean, it really drives home. Like everyone from the outside has got to be just marveling at the year that you've had, but it doesn't, you know, it doesn't necessarily change one's mindset. Has that been your experience, Levy?
Mindset in terms of like who I
Like
am as a
your
person,
overall
or
mood.
oh, uh, I don't know. My overall. I mean, I'm probably happy more than anything else, right? I'm pretty competitive, so when I first started this journey, I did have the goal. I was really tracking every day how far I was away from being #1 on YouTube. I'm not gonna lie, even when I had like 150, 200,000 subs. Uh, it's interesting, you know, that mindset I applied to growing my YouTube channel. I should probably apply to my competitive chess. I just had this realization because even when I was number 15 on YouTube, I always believed I could become the best, and I kept looking for ways that there wasn't enough content available for beginners, and I timed a lot of things correctly, admittedly, on this journey with the Queen's Gambit and more viewing audience that was going to come in, and pointing them in the right direction and giving them content that was not available on YouTube. So I would say I made a lot of good decisions and worked as hard as possible right when opportunity knocked, like with the Queen's Gambit. So but I think, yeah, inherently being competitive and happy more than anything else. But yeah, certainly there's days that I'm just totally spent. I stream or do commentary and then immediately make the recap of one of these top tournaments, and by the end of it it's 8 p.m. and I haven't eaten a meal. So
Wow.
But no, I mean, I always crack up when I get somebody reaches out because they want to talk to me, let's say for a journal or some interview, and they say, I want to be respectful of your time. I'm like, come on, I'm a streamer. I'm not a elected official that needs to go out into communities and actually make legitimate change. Like, let's not let's not give me too much credit. I'm not some sort of, you know, I'm a guy who sits in front of 2 monitors and talks to a camera. So that always cracks me up, as if I have to be regarded with some degree of respect. But definitely it's a mix of a few different things. Like happiness, still I'm competitive, and I want to push the bar, and I want to push chess to new audiences constantly and take on new projects. And I'm very tired. Recently, not as much. I've been trying to get out more. I'm getting more physically fit. Signed up for the gym. I travel pretty far to work out with a friend of mine, Alex Ostrovsky, because he's been going to the gym for about 9 months and has done good things for him. And I've made that effort, but I don't think fundamentally as a person I've changed at all. I think I'm still the same sarcastic brat. But if you kind of get, you know, if you get to know me, I'm a nice dude. Could grab a drink with me, and I don't think that's changed actually in the past year. So growth, income, whatever it might be, I'm really still kind of the same person.
For better or for worse.
Yeah,
But
that's true. For better or for worse, yes.
no, but I mean, what you say about like, you know, it's not that much trouble for you to do interviews or whatever. I mean, certainly like you say that, but obviously like something like me interviewing you, there's more in it for me than for you at this stage. So it's still appreciated. But Levy, and I do want to get into what you're alluding to in content creation, but just one more thing on sort of the chess topic. I mean, you've mentioned, so we've discussed now training for the GM title, and more generally just to like a pursuit of improvement, even if it's not about the sort of accolade of the GM title. And you alluded to sort of needing a wider repertoire, especially when you're playing these GMs. But is there anything else specifically you would be training? What do you feel like you need to improve at?
So, Coach and I agree on this. It's not rocket science. I think at this day and age, to get a competitive advantage, particularly with what I'm doing, I don't have a ton of hours to dedicate to my improvement. my most thorough advantage would be in opening preparation. That might not necessarily mean getting an advantage because, frankly, there are very few advantages left to gain. There's novelties that can complicate the position and make it trappy for the opponent, make it very difficult for them to play through. And that's actually how I got most of my norms. Preparation that would lead my opponent into many different complicated areas, and one of the best wins of my life, which I regrettably have on an old laptop that's dead now and I can't ever make a YouTube video on, is one of my opponents misplaying on like move 13, 14 of a very complex line, and I have to refute it over the board, and I did, and I won the game, and that was one of the best GM wins I ever had, and it clinched in my first IM norm for me, I think, in the World Open. So the repertoire is super important. Also, what kind of lines you play. Like, you need to be layered. For example, drawish lines with black, I cannot play for a win against lower rated players. But if I'm playing a closed tournament where everybody's around the same level, and I know how many points I need to get a norm or gain a certain amount of points, why not? I can play zero risk lines with black, and if I draw, I draw. It's not a big deal. But if I'm playing a 2100 in Vegas, I gotta win. I mean, I'm sorry, but I have to win the game. So there's no way for me to play that. So you need layers of your repertoire. Beyond that, for me personally, I understand you can train positional play and strategic play and dynamic play. So I'm gonna toot my own horn here for a second. Wojciech once famously told me that of all the people he's ever trained, I have the best sense of dynamics. So I'm a fiend for dynamic play. I'm always looking for it, and that's my own worst enemy because I'll look for it in a position that it doesn't exist. Particularly against grandmasters, and I'll go for it after spending 30 minutes. They'll spend 5, refute me completely. I lose the game, and I go, oh, shucks. And Vegas was actually not much, much off from that. I kind of went from variations that I thought were good. They were not. And every now and then, I'll outcalculate a stronger opponent and surprise them because I kind of see the board in a certain way. But a lot of it, I think, comes to stopping myself. Like, don't do that thing that you're about to do, and here's why. And be a little bit sharper with your practical decision making rather than uncorking a 7-move checkmating combination. A lot of games against stronger players really comes down to, okay, there's a couple of critical moments in this game that transform the position in a certain way, and you must evaluate it and decide which one is best. And listen, I gotta tell you, I had a decent tournament in Vegas, but I didn't do that very well. There were some games, even against some of the lower-rated players, that they could have capitalized on some of my inaccuracies, and that's just chess. They didn't, because statistically, being the lower-rated player, they won't. The final mistake will most likely be made by them, and that is what ultimately ended up happening. But there were definitely moments in Vegas where it came to that critical moment, and I was wrong, but I was bailed out by the fact that I'm the stronger player, and ultimately I could capitalize on their inaccuracies. But it did not happen against the GMs. They were sharper for a longer period and more sustained period of time. Even in endgames, like my endgame against the Capian, which was like 5.5 hours, I thought it was over. I thought it was completely over for the last 20 moves, and it wasn't at all. There was still plenty of fight, but I had given up on the position. So endurance and practical decision-making, I think, is how I can get better. But that's a very abstract way. Ultimately, it comes down to execution, I think.
Okay. I mean, honestly, though, I feel like that might be easier than just getting better at calculating, which, again, as you allude to, like, you just watching you play 1 minute, like in the I am not a GM stuff, you're very resourceful.
Yeah, it's fun for me. I think that skill alone gives me the confidence that I can probably get that G in my title.
Awesome. Well, fun story to track along with the Levy mania as you gallivant around the U.S. So, Levy, we got to get into it. Obviously, becoming the biggest YouTube presenter in the world, and it all happened really in the past 13 months. So, I'm sure there were a series of moments, Levy, but do you recall any in particular where you were just like, for lack of a better way to put it, like, holy crap, what's happening here, as you wake up and check your analytics?
Yes. So this is really the origin story of the YouTube channel. I had it. It was there. And I started all on YouTube like in 2019, just making what I thought was going to be a really cool series, and maybe I'll bring it back. And you might remember this, the post-mortem. And so in chess, the post-mortem is a period where you analyze the game after it's over. But if you type in post-mortem to YouTube and you do it incorrectly, you'll get death videos, like videos of people after, you know, and like the person who, yeah, it's really weird, and I had to remove that hashtag. But it was supposed to be kind of a sports center of chess news, and I was going to have segments of Prodigy Watch, the drama, but there wasn't enough in a 7-day span, frankly, even in a 14-day span. Like, chess is really hot, and there could be drama, and there have been some pretty dramatic periods of time, definitely. But I ended up tabling that, and I was still a chess teacher in May 2020. But I took a walk to a Thai restaurant. I went to get my lunch, and I was walking. I'm like, how do I start a YouTube channel? I said, okay, I'm gonna reset my rating and play games and go from like 1,000 to 2,200. And I said, I'm gonna call it the Gotham Guide because that's so brilliant. Both words start with the letter G. Wow, I'm so smart. And I did it, and I recorded them on Twitch, and I put them up on YouTube, and I put on my chess teacher hat, and people enjoyed them, and they got some views. Then tournaments started happening, these online events, and I said, hey, I'm going to make some recaps of the most interesting games, and I put them out, and some of them got some views, and I spoke to Levy Rozman. He talked to me about YouTube, and he said, hey, don't put the same thumbnail twice. I said, yeah, I was too lazy to, I didn't have a thumbnail person, so I said, I just put the same one twice. He said, don't do that, that's bad for the algorithm, and he gave me a lot of pointers back when he was on the climb to 100K, or maybe it was 50K back then, I don't remember, but yeah, he's one of my closest friends, so particularly in the chess world, I would say so. And I just kind of was consistent. Anything I did on Twitch, I would put on YouTube. So 4-player chess, even just the worst videos imaginable from these online events that just did not have a great quality. And then I did basic chess openings explained, which is just an abomination of a video compared to stuff that I do now, but it has 1 million views. It's crazy. Like, people just wanted bite-sized chess content, and that is when I started this journey of what can I give people in bite-sized format. The 10-minute chess opening series is a hit, that people just want to learn the basics of an opening in 10 minutes or less. This is June, July. Then I moved here, and I started making those day recaps. You know, my man Antonio always makes the solo games, and he will make a few in a day. I'd like to think that he makes 3 or 4 a day now because he's got stiff competition.
This is Agad, of course, for...
Yes, Antonio, yeah. Agad. So I don't know, maybe he used to do 3 or 4 in a day, but I love that. Like, you know, he'll make one every hour. That's awesome. I try to not do that just because I think the YouTube algorithm prefers if you space it out by 8 hours, but nobody actually knows what the YouTube algorithm gods say or do. But you know, he does the solo games, and I said, okay, I'm going to take the whole day and wait for the games to end, which is good and bad because there's already games being published. And I'm going to make a recap of the most interesting games with a fun thumbnail. And I don't think I'm missing any steps, really. This is sort of the journey it took. And then the Queen's Gambit started coming out, like the trailer. And this is when I had my first aha moment. So my Queen's Gambit video got an uptick in views. And that happened because the trailer would lead to a recommended video that said, how to play the Queen's Gambit, Gotham Chess. You know, it would pop up in the sidebar when people watched the Queen's Gambit trailer. People would click it. And it had 100,000 views in whatever time span it had. And then all of a sudden it got 10K in a day, 20K in a day. I was like, what is going on here? That's when I realized the Queen's Gambit was no joke. And basically, I dedicated all my content from that point forward to this new wave of audience that was going to come in. And I made how to play chess, not a 5-minute video like a lot is on YouTube, but a 30-minute video. And I was going to call it the ultimate beginner guide. It was going to give people piece movements, interactions, check and checkmate. And after they were done, they would be curious about the game. I kept doing the recaps. And I added on layer by layer how to solve chess tactics and exercises. And slowly the view count grew and grew, and I think it got to its maximum point around December, January, when the full Queen's Gambit effect had taken place. And I said this in a recent interview, I think with BBC it was, but I went from about 100K, 120K in 48 hours to 2 million, like 2.2 million, 2.1 million, just from
Does
this
views on a specific video or
overall.
okay?
And what I learned is that there was also a period of time I went from one video a day to two. So one at 7 a.m., one at 7 p.m. on anything, any subject. And I just worked really hard, and I was also streaming, so I would stream 100 hours a month, 120, 30 hours a month, and I made the beginner bootcamp, which, listen, I'm a firm believer in the fact that you can source free chess content. And I'm a firm believer in the fact, like, I go to the gym and I don't have a personal trainer, but as I always say, if you have the funds in place and you want to get that chess.com premium membership and this access to, a portal of chess teachers who make this content for you, structured lessons, or you want to buy a boot camp, which will tell you all the phases of the game reviews. I play some of my viewers there and I analyze, and like, if you can and you want to get it, it will improve your chess. Yes, you can do it for free, but sometimes that's very scattered and all over the place. And if you just want a solution where you pay and it's all right there for you, by all means do it. And the rest is kind of history. I've been doing the exact same thing ever since. Recently, that's expanded to music. my,
Your rap career, yeah.
Yeah, my rap and series like Guess the Elo, which has been just an unbelievable sensation, and I credit that to a couple of different comments over videos over time, but I don't think I'm really missing anything. It's a mix of openings videos and Gambit videos and Guess the Elo and the tournament recaps, and every now and then I started doing a bunch of chess history. People say that their favorite video I've ever made was Kasparov versus the World. It was like a 30-minute mini documentary on the entire thing and the thought process behind every move, and that's sort of been it, man. That's it. I worked really, really hard, and I think hard work met opportunity, and it sort of just exploded.
Yeah, I mean, it's you make it sound not that hard, but obviously the YouTube chess streets are fierce. There's lots of people making content. I mean, and I do find your videos to be quite compelling. So, I mean, I think I told you even in our last interview, like even though you already had a bigger audience than me, I still felt like you should be bigger. And obviously, that has borne out over the past year. So is your plan going forward, Levy, just sort of like more of the same? Do you have anything new in the works?
Definitely more of the same. I'm still not number one. So I'd like to become number one. That's always been, like I said, so I'm internally very competitive on this whole thing. I really wanted to be to be the biggest and attract the most audience, and I think that there is a bit of an advantage to being in the States versus being, for example, in Europe. Like YouTube ad policy, I think, is significantly more friendly in the States. It's much easier to make a career out of it, for example, full time. And that is obviously one nice thing. Despite living in New York City, which ultimately ends up taking half my money after it's all said and done. So I think there's definitely some benefits associated with being a creator on YouTube in the States and having, for example, athletes and celebrities who are based here playing chess or tweeting about chess or tweeting about the Queen's Gambit. It doesn't matter if a person with 10 million followers goes, I just watched the Queen's Gambit. That is massive. I mean, that is so big. Anything chess related will help us. And I have a lot of respect for the OGs, and I am by no means, I'm a firm believer in the fact that you can build somebody up without taking away from anybody else. So when people say, oh, I watch Gotham and I hate these other people, I'm like, why you like that? Like, why? When I carved out this area on YouTube, my entire logic was a little bit of that. It was everyone's got a little bit missing. Something's missing from everyone, and I feel like I can be that channel for people. And it's proven true for a lot of people, but a lot of people also don't enjoy my content because they like the calm demeanor or the more thorough analysis, particularly some of the stronger players. you know, the 1900s, 2000s. But if you're 1900 and 2000 and you don't enjoy my content because it's more tailored for an audience that's maybe 1500 below, 1200 and below, I mean, there's no need to like tear me apart. You could just go enjoy the content that you like, right? So it goes both ways. People say, I love Gotham and I hate all these other people. But you don't need to do that. You know, Gotham is better than all these people for X, Y, and Z, or these people are better. But obviously that's going to happen as people build fan bases and whatnot. So I have a tremendous amount of respect for the people that were doing this when the opportunity necessarily wasn't there. And I do kind of think sometimes, like, sure, I bring in a lot of viewers, but does this disperse? Do people start with me and then go to those other people to maybe fill in the gaps, like a Hanging Pawns, for example, who does really thorough videos on opening prep? I think the answer is yes. I think that if I am the intro to people for chess on YouTube, they're like, wow, this is pretty interesting. You know, it's not like boring. They all like, oh, this guy's engaging. He kind of acts like a clown sometimes. He's funny. Chess is interesting. Let me hang out here. His comment section is a bunch of memes. Like, let me, you know, like we have the biggest engagement sometimes on my channel, like thousands of comments on a video, just people joking around and having a good time. And then they disperse to the other smaller channels. That is the ultimate goal for me. But I don't know. I also don't know. Maybe if people spend an hour a day on YouTube, they only watch me. They don't watch the other people. So this is something that I'm thinking about, and maybe in the future we'll do something to just boost up the smaller channels that were definitely there before me, for example. I did get a really funny comment recently. So you know Mato Yelich was one of the YouTube OGs. Yeah, so I got a comment on one of my videos that said, this was so funny, Mato Yelich taught us with just the board because he doesn't have an ego. You have an ego because you have a face cam. I was like, man. Like that is that's gonna be a tough person to convince no matter what. I'm a YouTuber with a face camera, so I have an ego. I can't please everybody, Ben.
So. Well, I saw you on stream one time say you have a bit of Kevin Durant in you and reading the comments. So I mean, obviously at your level, if you, and for listeners who don't know, Kevin Durant, obviously one of the most famous basketball players in the world, but he had a controversy where he had a secret social media account where he was like responding to haters. But yeah, I mean, that could be a full-time job for you if you got caught up in it.
I totally. And yes, for those that don't know, I used to pin hate comments on my YouTube videos. It's very difficult to do now because people have realized that I do it. So they, let me just turn my light on. I don't know, it got kind of dark. So people realize that I pin hate comments, so it's very difficult to identify who's actually a troll and who's hating. If I see someone has 50 comments on my channel and that one was very inflammatory, I know that they're just trying to get pinned, but I'll have a person who's commented 3 times and all of them are hateful, but they're spread out over 3 months. Like, why do you keep coming back if you don't like it here? What are you doing?
Right.
So that's one, you know, that's one way to get engagement. That I think set me aside a little bit. It's a skill you need to have as you get bigger. I don't know if everybody's immune to it. Also, let's just be very clear: women have it 100% worse. That is an entire.
Yeah, that's good to mention. Yeah.
Yeah, it's you know, men have it one way, but women get a whole nother genre of it that we don't need to. You know, we can keep it at that. And I'm sure people know what exactly we're talking about. So, it's always made me laugh. I've never. I've only received death threats and the whole cheating.
Oh my God, thing. I don't even want to like.
Yeah, we don't have to. But I've never gotten like anything like to that extent. But I get my hate, and like I said, most of it is kind of that. Is that my content is whatever superficial, or I just yell a lot or something, and I have my Gotham isms, but. It's got to either motivate you or make you laugh, and I'm not gonna have a burner account where I go at people. I'll have my public account where I go at people. So
exactly. Cool. And I should explain, since I cut you off a little bit, what you're referring to, of course, is a cheating controversy with Dua Kaipis. I of course interviewed WGM Irene Sukander about it, and Levy's talked about it ad nauseum. But if anyone is wondering what we're talking about, you can look it up and hear about it on many different channels. Yeah. Now, Levy, I got a couple more Patreon mailbag questions for you. A couple of them we've sort of touched on, but I want to read the questions. We have big fans of yours who reached out, so got to make sure that you address them head on. So first question is from Daniel Gell, who recently resubscribed to Patreon. So thank you, Daniel, much appreciated. He says, Levy, I think the keys to your success are your entertaining jokes and sarcasm, whether viewers like it or not shying away from controversy and the fact that you're just better at chess than 99% of your viewers, despite what angry commentators might say. During the live coverage of your National Open games, I had to remind people that you didn't have stockfish with you during your games, SMH. That means shake my head for older listeners. Anyway, do you agree, and do you have anything to add to your success? P.S. Been subscribed since July 12th, 2020, according to XX Luke DE, a peculiarly named website, but confirms that I was an early fan, and he's referring to an early fan of yours, of course, Levy.
First of all, thank you. You believed in me before I believed in me. July 2020, man. That's like, I don't know, 20K subs on YouTube. So I've got a longtime fan who actually I met him. I met Jake in Vegas. His username kind of Pink Jake. The Twitch viewers might know who that is. And he's active on Twitter. He's active on Twitch. And he was a YouTube sub when I had like 200 subs.
Wow.
I mean, think about that.
Shout out to Jake. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he subbed to my YouTube to troll me, to be like, I gotta, this guy's content is so baby. I gotta make fun of him. And yeah, it's unbelievable. Like some people have stuck around. And okay. So to answer this question, yes, we've talked about it a little bit during the show. I definitely thought there was something missing from chess on YouTube, and I intended to go at it. And I don't have the bonus of being a top player that anyone's followed, right? So Hikaru has the benefit of the fact that he's just a brilliant blitz bullet. I mean, he was #2 classical in the world. That's not his focus at the moment. And it's fascinating. And he's probably, of like the top GMs, is probably top 5 who can communicate, laugh.
Yeah, of course.
There's a lot of positive things you can say, and I mean, the growth of chess wouldn't have been possible unless he started streaming in November 2018 more actively. So I don't have that. I can't go and play Magnus and beat him. I can't go to a week-long final in the summer. We're talking about the Magnus Carlsen finals, summer 2020. So that I can't do, and I had to see what I could do with my personality and the fact that I have a history of being a chess teacher, so I can make the concepts more bite-sized. And yeah. A little bit of sarcasm, or I don't know, maybe more than that, and entertainment, cracking jokes, accents, voice inflections. I have a couple of running inside jokes and things that I say, but I try to mix it up every video so that you want to watch. You don't know what you're going to miss in 30 minutes. You don't know how I'll make you laugh, or what joke that I'll crack. You'll be like, what? But I also try to keep it family friendly, because parents watch with their kids. Sons, daughters, like they watch, and it's a family experience. Also on my YouTube, guess the elo, not always. There's a little bit of swearing, but I think I can't really add a whole lot more. But that was a long question. I feel like I'm missing a part of it. There was something that he asked in the beginning.
I think you got everything, because we had already touched on it. So I think you got the broader points. So let's get to the next and last Patreon question, which I'm guessing is some version of this is probably the question you get asked the most. And we even talked about it in our prior interview. But Tobiah Rex writes in and asks, do you have any recommendations, advice on how to generate new and original chess content for new streamers?
So this person is a new streamer trying to get into it?
That's my impression, yeah.
Well, it's funny because a year ago you asked me advice for new streamers and I said don't do it. And here we are.
Exactly, yeah.
Here we are 13 months later. That was not strategically me trying to sabotage future competition. I mean, it's really hard. A lot of people have started streaming chess, literally, and a lot of them are grandmasters. If you ever dig through the chess category, you will be shocked at how many really strong grandmasters are streaming to 3 viewers, 5 viewers.
Yeah.
Be entertaining. Have a really good-looking stream. So this I can safely say. I rate a lot of small creators. If you don't have a camera and it doesn't look good, it doesn't sound good, I'm not bringing my people just because they're going to leave. I'm not bringing them because I don't like it. They're coming from a place where they have music. They have the active chat. They have they need something where they can feel like they're part of a living room experience. You have a big living room, you're having a get together, people are drinking. If they're not of age, they're drinking juice. They're having a good time, they're socializing, chess, whatever. If you have none of those components, it's really hard to build anything and be consistent. Now you say, well, the Minecraft people are faceless. Yeah, but that Minecraft is an outlier of epic proportions in terms of community and social media reach. So everything's got to look good. It's all got to look good. It's got to sound good. Having said that, do it mindfully and with a budget. Don't quit your day job and drop 10 grand on a stream setup. I've got $30 monitors. The most expensive thing I have is this Sony camera. My mic is like $100. I don't even have the Shure, which you have. A lot of people have the Shure. I didn't get it because I was too lazy to set up the sound dock. I just have a standing microphone, and it doesn't sound so bad.
That sounds fine, yeah.
And then you have to have something compelling about you. If for whatever reason you have a grandmaster listening right now, be a grandmaster, but be compelling. Make jokes. Make people want to come back. So if they have a favorite big streamer, you can be their favorite small streamer. Or do something cool like Adult Improver. And stream yourself training. A lot of people are going to get along with you and want to train with you because a lot of people are currently stuck in the exact same journey. So you gotta turn heads, and you gotta want people to stay. That's the way you have to think about it. And if you've got to be a little bit more theatrical without being overly fake about it, just understand that if you're gonna boot up a camera and just talk like it's nothing, so are hundreds of people. So you need to find something about yourself that stands out. And if you can't, then do it for fun. Don't make it a career. But if you're trying to make it a career, that just might not be feasible because there's truly hundreds of people trying to go at it right now. But I dig around on YouTube all the time. For these small channels and interesting stuff that they're doing. And for those of you asking, and other people curious how to come up with new ideas, the answer's in the question. Sit around and come up with new ideas. Hey, is there a YouTube video out on this? Look it up. Oh, there is, but it's by a small channel. It hasn't been made by a god, Gotham, Hikaru, Danny King, John Bartholomew, right? Like, I got Kasparov versus the World. I always knew that was a game, but Antonio never made a video about it. Okay, great. And I made the thumbnail, and I try to make all my thumbnails unique. And now it's there, and I don't know, 600,000-700,000 views. So that's the way you got to do it. Like, I thought of an idea yesterday. I'm not going to share it. You'll have to see it on YouTube. But that's just the way it works. You just sit, brainstorm, think of the thumbnail, and then make the content. And you have to have good thumbnails if you're going to go on YouTube. Twitch is different, but YouTube got to be attention grabbing with the title, the thumbnail, everything.
All right, excellent advice. And Levy, do you have influences, like inspirations outside of chess, other content creators that you adapt chess to?
So I only watch two things on screens, really. I watch mixed martial arts events when they're there, and I watch a little bit of like basketball news and mixed martial arts news on YouTube. I'll watch my Chael Sonnen, my Undisputed. Something about these sports talk shows where the guys yell at each other for 10 minutes. That's really all I watch. I don't watch a whole lot of shows. I'll put that on as background noise. And I will say that I have a very famous moment in my Twitch stream. For me personally, this wasn't some sort of big event, but somebody told me to make a video about the chess titles. And I said, I don't want to make my YouTube videos like Wikipedia. Like, if you can look it up, I don't want to make a video about it. And Tirzu, who I met in person, Tirzu's the guy that makes the tier list videos, the really kind of video game infused with sound effects and like very like high quality production videos on YouTube. He said, dude, my entire channel is basically that. It's kind of what he said. He's like, you know, I make bird tier lists, but if you really wanted to go read about birds, you could go read about birds, but it's much better to get it in a 20-minute fun edited video. It's more interesting. You can learn and enjoy. And I said, well, okay. So I made the video, how to become a chess grandmaster. Do as I say, not as I do. And I told people about the titles, and that video does well. Actually, Mr. Beast was on a call with me and told me that that was one of the videos of mine that he saw when we were doing a little bit of preparation for PogChamps. And for those that don't know, Mr. Beast, I think, is currently the most watched YouTuber. His content is incredibly explosive. He does all sorts of insane, expensive stunts and gives away tons of money. And that's a cool system because he makes a lot on his monetization and he gives away a lot. And a lot of people are winners in that case. So he told me one thing. He said that every second of your video needs to be compelling, and I should consider to edit my chess content a little bit more. So I started editing and doing a little bit more jump cuts, but there's only so much editing you can make on a chess video. So that's one thing I try to do. I tried for there not to be any boring seconds or
You do that yourself, Levy?
Yeah, it's not that hard. I mean, I have Shotcut. It's a free program. I cut certain parts in my intro to make it flow better, and that's it. Yeah, it doesn't take a whole lot of work, but yeah, I edit most of my own stuff. If it's like super complex, I'll outsource it. Shout out to Daily Dose of Chess. Go subscribe to him on YouTube. But yeah, I would say Tierzu, Mr. Beast. Other than that, not really. Just I don't want to be the second anybody else. I want to be the first Gotham. So
nice. Yeah, and Mr. Beast, such a famous YouTube creator that even I've heard of him. And you know, you did a Twitch stream with Gordon Hayward. Obviously, you've done some stuff in collaboration with chess.com. What other like celebrity brushes have you had, Levy? Like whether it be for a sort of sanctioned thing like PogChamps or just sort of less high profile, less visible, I guess you could say.
So I really want to get George St. Pierre to play chess, the MMA GOAT, in my opinion. And there was a video that he said that he played chess in his childhood, actually. He competed in some tournaments. I did send him an Instagram DM just for kicks. I haven't really messaged a lot of celebrities. It would be cool to do another NBA thing. The Gordon Hayward thing was nuts. I was walking in a botanical garden with my girlfriend and some friends, and I got a notification that Gordon Hayward PayPal'd me money for my course.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, this is funny. This isn't Gordon Hayward, obviously. And it 100% was Gordon Hayward. I was like, what? And yeah, sometimes I keep track of his chess.com and see how he's doing. And it's that was crazy that we did that lesson. He plays for Charlotte now, Boston previously, and then Utah before that, if anybody follows the NBA. I actually, there is one sports organization, esports org, from New York that's based in New York called Anbox. And I was hoping that maybe there would be some ability to sign with them. I'm not signed to anybody, and I'm happy the way I am, but obviously signing with
that's crazy though. I mean,
well, I don't know, maybe I'm a brand risk. I don't know. I should tweet less about politics.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
But yeah, I mean, like for example, like they're great because they have a lot of roots in New York City and sports teams, and I would love to do like a chess event at a big stadium or something like that. It's always some stuff that I'm brainstorming, and but no real other celebrity run-ins. I've been recognized in New York like 8 times. That's pretty cool.
Nice. But yeah, I wondered about that, and I got to ask you, Joe. I mean, Levy. Well, you'll see why I called you Joe in a second. There's this famous sports writer, Joe Posnanski.
Yeah.
He's coming on the show. Knock on wood. Interviewing him later this week. But you're a young man, so you may not be that familiar with him. But I saw you follow him. Are you familiar with his work?
Probably not to the extent that I should be, but I did notice that some time ago, something chess related happened. And he was involved, and then obviously he posted the "I hate chess," and I totally echo his sentiments.
Oh yeah, that's when I reached out to him. I was like, oh, I got to try to get him talking chess.
He was in my, I think he was in my stream. He might have even given some subs. So yeah, I like baseball. Been a Yankee fan since childhood, so I like it less than some of the other sports I watch now. But yeah, I know of him and I know of his piece. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, just checking in. So Levy, if I told you I was going to ask you about one of your tweets, which one might you think it is? Any guesses?
Is it my recent one about anti-vaxxing? I've written a lot of political tweets.
Yeah, that one was second on the list. Yeah, okay. So it is, I'll read it to you. May 11th, 2021, the biggest a-holes in chess are rated 2,000 to 2,200. They're strong enough to backseat streamers learning, complain about the influx of new players, and gatekeep which content on YouTube is good and bad, all while being resentful a 7-year-old can beat them despite decades of work.
Yeah.
So any regrets there, Levy?
No. No regrets. We talked about this earlier. So there's a lot of ways to start this and kind of go through this. This mostly comes, I would say, I must have seen something that day that kind of put me over the top with this. I think my biggest, God, I don't know. I want to find a better word than hater, because it's just such a bad term. But okay, haters, like the people that really, like I said, publicly are like trashing the content and gatekeeping the content, are about that, maybe 18, 1900, 2000, whatever, and kind of into that master category. There is a very high chance that on Reddit chess, if someone is writing these long thesis statements about why my content is actually bad and I am not the fastest growing YouTuber, they're around that. They have a little tagline that says 2300 Lee chess, 2100, chess.com rapid or something. And that is because at that level, you get chess. Like, let me be very clear. I know my tweet said what it said, but you get chess more or less. So you still have a long way to go. You are still a peon compared to some of the maybe IMs and GMs, maybe not myself, but like a Tuan Minlei, who's one of the strongest IMs in the world. But they are the best in the room very frequently, and a lot of the comments that they write might be positive, but at the same time, more often than not, a lot of their stuff is like, you should not watch that, because that's not how you actually get better at chess. You gotta watch this, and that's not the way you should study. This is the way you should study. And it boiled over that day. Like it boiled over that day. And I always say on Twitch and on Twitter, I might be a little bit more theatrical just for a little bit more engagement. But yeah, I mean, your average talented 8-year-old, 9-year-old is now 2000. I mean, if you're not Abhimanyu Mishra and the youngest I am in the world at 10, are you even a prodigy anymore? So that tweet was definitely pointed, so it could get reshared, and people would say, "Oh, Gotham is always dividing the community," or
yeah, you definitely made a few enemies with that one.
Yes, and but that's look, that's unfortunately the reality. I mean, I've had probably the most nasty things said about me or to me directly in some of these like online threads by folks who can't watch my YouTube and learn, and they're like, "Oh, this guy's such a clown. He's such a, he belongs in a circus. I'm gonna go watch my power play chess, my Danny King, who's absolutely fantastic, but he's a very stoic grandmaster. 30 minutes of truly like very high level analysis."
I love his videos. Yeah,
like I'm totally giving the man props. Just as a beginner, you can only pay attention to chess like truly and get like the most out of a viewing experience in like, that Sports Center format, for example. And maybe you like we said, the entertainment or the sarcasm or whatever it is. It's just two totally different flavors. But yeah, that day I just decided to come for the 2K to 2200s.
Knives out. Yeah.
But,
all right.
Well, no, I was just going to add one more thing. Like, a lot of people, if you notice, a lot of people in those things compared it to certain video games, you have the people who are right there. They are right on the cusp of mastery in a lot of video games, but they can't go pro, or they can't get the teaching job, or so they're sort of there like, well, I got to take that next step, but I can't quite do it. And by the way, I quit chess for 3 years, from 12 to 15, and I was rated 2000. It's a very hard level of chess to improve. And sometimes you might feel stuck, and you might get in there, and but I still completely agree with what I said, and
okay. Well, this is what I'll say. First of all, I consider myself in that category. My USCF has been over 2200, but it no longer is. But I wasn't personally offended because I've seen what you're talking about. There is a sort of know-it-all strain among some chess fans. I wouldn't had I been you, I wouldn't have assigned a specific rating range to it. I think that's where as you say, some people felt like you're dividing the community by, like, if you just said some chess fans are know-it-alls, like, no specific chess fan can feel seen, can feel singled out. So I think that's what kind of got you in some trouble. But honestly, I just can't take this stuff too seriously is the main reason it didn't upset me. But I did see more vitriol than usual. I mean, I guess I don't read like your anti-vaxxer I can't read anti-vaxxer comments. So I wouldn't know how it compares to the other sort of blowback you've gotten, but from my perspective, it seemed pretty fierce.
Yeah, there's definitely the folks that are on most of my tweets that get attention like that, but they don't follow me. But they always find their way there.
Right.
I won't name names. I get paid to promote products and people, so I don't want to give them too much unnecessary attention. But yeah, there's definitely those folks. But yeah, like at the end of the day, Ben, that tweet was not out of a place of pure anger. It was just to crack some people up. Ultimately, yeah, like oh really, oh yeah, really. And I could have maybe posted some sort of evidence, but definitely, yeah, people took it very seriously. They were like, oh, Gotham, the ever divisive member of the community and everything. But listen, we got no other people like that in chess. No grandmasters are ever going to tweet something like that. All the other creators barely tweet that they got the vaccine. So I don't know. People are very walking on eggshells in our very much walking on eggshells in the
You and
chess creator.
Feingold, carry the torch. That's
Yeah,
about it.
yeah. I don't know. I don't even know if Ben's tweeted something like that. Yeah, but Ben is definitely much more, makes a lot more, I think, political statements than myself. He's he definitely doesn't hide it, and I respect that about him. And I think I've tweeted enough about politics, and I've spoken about politics on Twitch. I actually don't think I would probably surprise some people actually with the way I talk about it, that I'm not like leaning so far one way or the other, but I think that there is less politics and more common sense problems, particularly in the States. So that is the stuff that I speak out against or
And
for.
and I gotta ask Levy, because it's unclear. I mean, you're so popular that maybe it is good for your air quotes brand, but is there even a voice in your head? I mean, clearly you're kind of like a no filter type of guy, but do you kind of like have to force yourself to say something incendiary on stream, or like hit send on that tweet, or is it just like you think it, you send it, boom?
Okay, I mean, I definitely have. I've stopped myself from tweeting certain things. Right before we went live, I saw a cop in Arkansas killed a kid at 3 a.m. Um, and you know, guy was a white teenager, and I say that's actually kind of important because it's always not that, right, and then the argument is that, oh, it doesn't make the news, like somehow people who are Republican will be like, oh, this is only news because this. I mean, they still, right. So without making this podcast political, I saw that there was a story. It was a white teenager. He was on a little ATV, took out some antifreeze to put it behind his tire so that the thing wouldn't roll into the cop car, got shot in the neck. I want to tweet about this stuff all the time, Ben. I think there are so many fundamental problems with this country, and like we really need to work on them and fix them. And sometimes I don't do it because I give up. I have like no hope that we're actually going to fix any of this stuff. I would tweet something political every day, multiple times. Multiple times a day. But I'm wary of a couple of things. So first of all, I am wary of getting too involved in this hateful world of politics. I'm air quoting on my camera, but like I said, common sense, and then people will get weaponized with it and hunt down where my family lives or where I live or something like that. But it's a little bit too hateful for me. And also, I mean, frankly, cancel culture. Like if I say something even half wrong, you gotta be really careful. And I don't hold any views, like let me just be very clear. I don't hold any views that like I'm hiding and they could get me canceled. Like no, I'm a normal common sense kind of guy. But if I ever spoke out about like some sort of moderate territory where I'm not leaning one way or the other, you never know. I mean, I don't want to run that risk. I don't want to say something wrong and then I have to come out here with YouTube apologies or Twitter apologies or Ben Johnson podcast apologies. Like, hey,
You're always welcome, man. No matter how bad you screw up.
So it's one of those things. So I tend to keep it to things like gun violence in America is disgusting and we're the laughingstock of the entire world. And if there's any Americans who are listening offended by that statement, I'm sorry. That is like the truth. I mean, I got a lot of European viewers who always make fun of me because they're like, dude, what is going on there? I mean, it's like that stuff like that. And yeah, the anti-vaxxer stuff, I love it. I mean, the
Just
people
like bring it on, yeah.
Yeah, because the people in the comments who are like, it's so bad, Ben. I mean, we're not gonna beat the Delta and the Lambda variants without getting stabbed in the arm. So It's
Yeah.
and I'm not a doctor. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, and we'll more things will come out about side effects. I just think it's so funny. That's but that's
Okay.
just
Well,
that's just me.
a slightly less controversial topic, I hope. One thing I really appreciate about you, and I mentioned this to Patreon subs when I announced the second interview, because again, like I can see how people got upset about your your tweet about the people rated 2000 to 2200. I'm anti-vaxxer, but I can see how people on the right might, have some. They might disagree with you on some issues, and in some cases, it's totally understandable to me. But the fact that you stand up for women in chess to me is quite. It's full stop admirable, especially like someone of your station now. So like maybe I don't know how you want to approach this. Maybe the feedback that your girlfriend Lucy gets. Maybe I know you donated to U.S. Chess Women. Like, how has this issue come to your attention as a male?
Sure. Well, there's obviously the women in chess and just women. Period. I can say that at no point in my life did somebody sit me down and go, the world is, like destroy the patriarchy. You have to be nicer to women. Like no one ever sat me. That's just common sense. Like I said, like with some of my political views, it just seems like common sense to me. We're just all human. Like, like why do we need these like mini lectures? I mean, some of us do absolutely. I never had that, and I would say that let's see, women in chess. That probably became very much at the center of attention when I became a chess teacher. So I had a girl show up my first day on the job of the school that I ran the program at for multiple years before I went full-time content creation. A second grade girl, class of first, second, third grade boys, and she was like crying because she was the only girl. It was like her and like
Yeah.
15 really rowdy kids punching each other, biting each other, yelling at each other. These are Brooklyn kids. I mean, they're private school kids, but like they're Brooklyn kids. If they were Manhattan private school kids, they wouldn't be doing that. My New Yorkers
Now
know
you're
what I'm
firing
talking about.
shots at Brooklyn. Uh
No, it's good. I'm saying
oh.
I'm firing shots at Manhattan. Kids getting picked up in bulletproof Mercedes Benzes in Manhattan, man. Like, I mean, like we're talking. It's a totally different ballgame. I really enjoyed being a chess teacher in Brooklyn, actually, even for the wealthiest of families because they're a little bit. It's a little bit different. But that's a separate talking point. So, uh, yeah, that's when it became quite clear to me, and I think there was one article that went around of a school that got featured in like the New York Times or one of these things that they did really well at the state championship, I actually think that same girl's mom responded to this thread like, I don't think they mentioned a single girl in that article, and that was a team of like 30, 40 kids, and that might have been very well true. We had very famously on our team 40 competitive players, and 4 of them were girls, and that was actually successful. 1 out of 10 for most chess programs. But when I left, we made a big push to have an all girls class, and I know there's an entirely separate debate about all girls classes, but the truth is, and for some people this is for some reason uncomfortable to talk about, like there are just fundamental differences between boys and girls, even at a young age, particularly in the classroom. Boys would much rather get into arguments and beat each other up. It's just true. I've been around hundreds of them, like hundreds of students. And if you make an all-girls chess classroom and they're all focused and they don't have that distraction, a lot of them like have a really nice incubated learning experience. They get along great. The older kids help the younger kids, and now before I left that program, more girls were playing chess in kindergarten than boys.
That's great.
Like, yeah, that's crazy. Now, of course, you would need to then figure out at what point, if at any point, does that trail off? When do the boys get more serious about it? When does it, right? There's social dynamics. I mean, people want to make arguments for hormonal dynamics, like both genders hit puberty totally differently. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm just here to report that at a very young age, given the right learning experience, the best learning experience in the classroom, girls play chess by more numbers and more competitively than boys. That's before I left as a teacher, we had that. Like we found that, we discovered it, and whatever happens beyond that point has to do with society, has to do with, like I said, just the fundamental differences between the two. I mean, that's the facts as I can report them. However, yeah, men are just terrible to women. And for those listening who are like, I'm not, yes, I understand. But there are a lot of people who are, man. Like they just are, and I don't know where that comes from. Like I don't know where it's even the smallest of things, like not understanding that the conversation is over and you're making someone feel uncomfortable to the obviously just the people that just do all the gross stuff. And like we were talking earlier about female content creators and all the comments that they have to deal with. It's really rough. And like the Botes sisters, Nemo, Anna Kramling, Anna Rudolph, they all talk about it, but the men don't, like, at all. And I don't really know why they don't. Maybe like a guy like Eric Rosen's just non-controversial period on any subject, and he'll obviously speak out about something like this. But yeah, I'm very on the nose with it. I will screenshot a YouTube comment, as you've seen me do, and just post it on Twitter and be like, don't be like this person. And if you have a friend who's like this person, stop them. Yeah. You know, because you can make as many jokes as you want behind the scenes, but that might spill over into whatever, into your job or the way you interact with people. And truthfully, if you're like hateful, then nowadays a text message or a post you made on any platform many years ago will potentially lose you your job. And I don't necessarily agree with the way the world is now in that regard, but that's just the truth. Like, you gotta just treat people with respect. Like, my whole thing is, I'll treat anybody with respect as long as whatever they do doesn't affect me, my family, my loved ones detrimentally. Like, go and live your best life, whatever, in whatever way you wish. And I don't know why we say like nasty comments to adults, but even you know, like I've been at chess tournaments, and a girl who's like 5 will beat an older guy. And the guy will like sit there holding her hand after the handshake for a minute, trying to talk to her and like give her advice. It's like the creepiest like thing ever. And I didn't know, like, am I supposed to step in? Like, I don't know. It's, you know, maybe it's innocent. The guy's just a bit weird. But it's the only sport in the world that pits potentially a tiny girl against an older guy who's, you know, who doesn't have like the best intentions. I mean, it really is. And I don't know. That was a very long, drawn out monologue, but I mean, I try to draw as much attention to it as possible, man. Not just in chess, in society. Like, we just got to be better, and we are better than we were. Yeah. But
I appreciate it. Yeah, and we are better. It's worth not losing sight of that. And in summation, treat everyone with respect, except people rated between 2,000 and 2,200. Right? Right?
No, unless they're banned. Unless they're banned. You know, they're yeah. If they're gatekeeping what you should and shouldn't watch on YouTube, you should probably stay away. So. But other than that, yeah, it's you gotta. I think we can bridge the gap, and I think we can totally have more Judith Polgars. But
yeah, that would be awesome. What a beast! All right, last topic. I think, Levy, we got to get an update on Lucy's chess game. How's her game? How's your girlfriend's game progressing?
Great. For the amount of study that Lucy puts into chess, which is virtually none. Love you if you're listening. She's progressed quite well. So she had an interesting journey. She learned chess after we started dating. She didn't play a whole lot. She mostly played 10-minute games per coach's orders. You know, you got to play slow games. And she learned some openings here and there. We messed around with different openings with white and black. But then, you know, Lucy really, she hates losing. Everybody hates losing, right? But she, a few months ago, was like, why am I playing 10-minute games? And they make me even angrier because I spend so much time trying to think and focus, and I either run out of time after I play well, or I you know, like
don't use your time, yeah.
Or like you spend 20 minutes and you blunder your queen or something. Like, why did I even say? So she started playing 3-minute chess, which is a totally different universe. But she climbed the ranks. She was like 600, slowly got to 7, bounced around 8, 9, and I think she went to like 990. Just playing on, you know, instinct, and I've seen her play some crazy games, and now she's got the ladder anxiety where she's like, oh my god, I'm playing the 4-digit people. And like a couple weeks ago, she beat like a 1050 with 2 seconds on the clock versus like a minute in like a ladder mate. It was crazy. And she's played like some really good games. but I don't think she's in love with chess to the point that she will diligently study it and try to like go up 100 points like every few weeks. But I love watching her games. I like to analyze them with her, and we'll both throw our phone once every week, maybe from losing. She'll blunder something. I'll lose a time scramble versus like a 2400. So and phone gets thrown. I try to always throw it at something soft. If I'm gonna throw my
Nice.
phone. But chess rage is a thing, man. Totally. So
Yeah, I'm with you, man. It's like, and I don't know about you, but I can have I'm at a point in my life where I can have like chest tilt, blitz tilt, and like compartmentalize it. You know, go through your life, do your work stuff, do your family stuff, and then you set the computer, boom, rage. You know, like it's unique in that way.
it's the worst. It's oh my god. But it's also the best because we keep coming back.
Yeah. Yeah, well said. All right, actually, I thought of one more question, Levy. Obviously, you've had a lot of success in the last year. Any big purchases, or is it just 100% same old, same old?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, yeah, what is the most expensive thing? Okay, so first of all, you make money, you gotta invest money, people. Gotta invest money. Don't invest like me. I go into crypto. I try to. So I have some ETFs. I have some stocks that I believe in, kind of more long term. I have my meme stocks, my GameStop, my AMC. My
Nice.
my pump and dump or short
Team
squeeze
Reddit.
stocks. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Big on some of the cryptos. Trying to get a little bit more into like angel investing. So I've tried to. For me, the hardest thing is I don't know a lot of people. So it's really hard to tap into networks of where people are investing, especially like as angels or VCs. But I tried my best. I would love to get a car. So I really do want to get like a fun convertible BMW. And the problem is I live in New York City and I don't go anywhere. So why am I going to park a nice BMW on the streets of New York City? I don't even have a garage. Like I'm moving buildings and I don't even have a driveway.
Yeah.
Um, so I think the most expensive stuff that I've gotten is I've spent money on Lucy. So she got like a cool tattoo. Um, I got her a nice dress, and I wanted to get a nice shirt to match it. We got the most expensive thing we bought was something from Versace, and my thing came 3 sizes too big, and I missed the return period. So now I'm gonna look like a monk wearing my. So I don't think that was the most expensive. But over the past year, I mean, investing mostly. I mean, I upgraded my camera. The next place will be bigger. The next apartment will be bigger. But even then, we try to kind of stay in budget. Uh,
Are you still gonna have roommates?
no, I've lived with Lucy and that's it. So we have
Oh, okay.
no roommates. More space. Uh might try out some classes that are kind of pricey, standard like kickboxing or some of these things that um I'm gonna try to like do more one-on-one stuff, which obviously costs a little bit more, and try to pay more for like organic food just to eat healthier. But yeah,
All right.
nothing crazy. You might see me in a convertible BMW. That's it.
Okay.
Um,
And no thoughts of Gotham Chess leaving New York?
oh, plenty of thoughts, man. But
Every New Yorker thinks about it. Yeah.
very, very conflicted, man. I did those tax calculators on what I can save moving to those states. The good thing is that every time I think about Austin, their power grid fails. So, and then they permit you to carry a gun without a permit now. That's the only political sprinkle I'll give you. So I don't know about Texas anymore. LA is beautiful. LA I hear amazing things about, and the only bad thing about LA is number one, taxes, which you can't scare me with because I'm from New York, and number two, traffic, and I don't drive a lot. So I'm not scared of you, LA. But of course,
Nice.
then
All right.
taxes are higher. So yeah, yeah, definitely want to leave New York, but also want to leave the country. Travel or living. Want to go travel somewhere.
Do it up, man. Make the Levy Mania tour global.
I don't know if I'll go full Logan Paul and do a big fan meetup in Dubai. I'm not at that level. But hey, in the
A world
airport,
championship.
yeah. Actually, I did think about that. But that's still a work in progress. But uh, It's crazy. I gotta tell you, it is still kind of surreal to have a person walk up to you in the middle of an airport or on like in the local park and go, "Are you Levy?" I was like, "How is that possible, man? Like that is just so." So I made a tweet recently. I said, "You can only take a picture with me if I can pet your dog. If you have a dog."
I
So
saw that. Yeah, good
yeah.
stuff. And sorry, I keep saying one more question, but how's your family reacted to this?
Mm, same old. I gotta say. Same old. I've offered to pay for some medical bills and some projects. And I also told my family if we ever travel anywhere, we'll all fly first class. That is a purchase I haven't made yet, like you said, but that is one thing I want to promise them. I mean, at the end of the day, I I'm not gonna lie to the audience, this wasn't like a rags to riches story. I had a relatively decent childhood. I had three homes with divorced parents and a grandparents' neutral territory in the middle. So it was interesting to go around three houses. So from that standpoint, but listen, I always had a roof over my head. I had a pretty decent support system. So want to give back to the family and get them nice things and maybe some beach house somewhere over the course of time. But they're pretty chill. My grandparents said that I should charge for selfies now as a joke. And yeah, I don't
That'll
think.
bring out the haters if you do that.
Yes, of course. No. I please do offer pictures. It's funny. I offered one person who was really awkward that ran into me a picture, and he said, "If you want." And I was like, "Come on, man." I'm like, I was like, "Come on, man." But no. I think family is kind of chill about all
Good.
of it, which is good.
Cool. All right. Well, Levy, you've been super generous with your time. I know you say you're not busy, but much appreciated nonetheless. Anything you want to throw in before we wrap this up?
Train all day, Ben Johnson podcast all night, all day. You know what that is? That's Nick Diaz with the intro for Joe Rogan. So
Yeah.
no,
I'm often compared to Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I know the takes and everything, right? You gotta get canceled like once every month. That was actually hilarious. Joe Rogan talked about the Dewa Keepas thing, but like no names, just kind of very on the top for like a couple minutes in like a random episode he did. So that was pretty crazy. But no, I I love your work, and there are no chess podcasts, and I want to come on and chat and catch up, and hopefully this will be good for my audience because they don't really hear me talk like this for 90 minutes at a time about different parts of my life, and hopefully this is good exposure and they'll start watching a lot of your stuff.